Question number 4. Hey, what's up? I'm ALLofEL and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be collabing with Chelsea T here on YouTube. They are such an incredible content creator. I am a huge fan of their work and feel so grateful that they were willing to collab with me. So without further ado, let me give you a little introduction. Chelsea T is a shit-talking Chicanx gender fluid advocate for all things trauma-informed and creative. They make videos centered around racial and sexual trials and triumphs when not teaching art at their day job. They can be found at Chelsea Swigs T on Instagram. All of their info is going to be down in the description box, including the video, their channel, go subscribe, and their Instagram, which I highly recommend you follow. What up, y'all? It's Editing Lisbeth here. I just forgot to mention that Chelsea will be answering the same questions that I will be, and those questions are down in the description box. I identify as queer, non-binary, femme. That means that I identify as a queer person that is genderless and that represents themselves in a feminine form. And I use they, them pronouns. I would say that in general, I perform my gender identity in a very feminine manner, but that is actually not always the case. And I do find that my gender is fluid and that sometimes I wish to present myself in other ways than feminine. When I first came out as queer, or when I first came to terms with my queerness, I did try to express it in a masculine way, right? Because at the time, I feel like in the last few years, since like 2016 maybe, there's been a lot that has happened to where queer culture is a lot more accepted. But when I was growing up, it still wasn't. There was little to no media representation of like femme presenting folks in relationships, unless you saw them with a really butch person. And I did try that like more masculine representation and found that I felt generally more comfortable presenting myself like this. It had nothing to do with my sexuality, the way I chose to present myself. Expressing my non-binary identity through the way I look, to me, is being feminine. Being feminine has nothing to do with womanhood or like the fact that I have a vagina. For me, expressing my non-binary identity is doing it with makeup and curling my hair if I want to, or braiding my hair. I love putting together outfits. I love putting together a whole look. And I find that for me, my gender expression is done through that like physical appearance. It is an expression of my non-binary identity, not of my cis identity, which does not exist. To me, it is the ephemeral adornment of this ephemeral body. And what I mean by that is that just like my body ages every second, the makeup I wear, decomposes on my face because of the oils breaking through and stuff. And at the end of the day, I wash it all away. Meaning both of these things are fleeting. Thinking back to when I was a kid, right? I liked cute sunglasses and cute bathing suits and flashy, sparkly things. And that was just literally my taste. I definitely think that it was encouraged, right? Because growing up Latinx in a first generation Mexican household, femininity from a woman or a female bodied person is expected. And so I definitely don't feel like it was difficult for me to be accepted for the way I present myself until I got into academia. And even before that, in high school, middle school, because of the way I chose to present myself, I often had to prove myself to teachers because they literally would often even verbally let me know that they didn't expect much of me and assumed to be unintelligent, uninterested in school, and way more interested in social things. It had everything to do with the way I looked, being Latinx and femme. Walking into academic spaces, I'm already brown, I'm already expected to take up less space, and I wear bright colors and bright eyeshadows and wing my eyeliner for class, but also bet your ass that I read Marx and have thoughts. People don't know how to react to that. Getting into college, I have somebody admit to me that they didn't think I would make meaningful art when they first met me because of the way I chose to present myself. And this comes up over and over again. That kind of insult to my intelligence because of the way I looked, it pissed me off. People really thought that just because I put some sparkly eyeshadow on that I don't have a brain. But for me, it's become this form of protest, this form of like showing that femininity is intelligence. And I know that European colonization is the reason that we have these two genders in the first place, and that femininity is seen as less than to masculine traits, because femininity is often associated with emotions, while masculinity is associated with logic. For me, it was like, no, this is ridiculous that just because of the way I present myself, you would think that I am so much beneath you. Question number 4. My gender identity is pretty much 98% of the time invalidated. And that sucks, to be honest. Because of my appearance, people often forget or assume that my pronouns are she, hers, and they're not. They're they, theirs. And to be completely honest, anytime somebody uses she on me, it feels like they're talking about another person. But it happens so much that they're not. No, my Instagram, ALLofEL, is so much about my non-binary identity, and I still get comments being like, hey girl, looking good, you know, and I'm just like, I'm not a girl. That is really invalidating for me. Dating folks, they'll often call me like baby girl, and I'm like, just call me baby. You can still love me and not misgender me, I swear to God. My entire family does not validate it, and I haven't really talked about it with them because I don't want to go through the trouble of explaining it to them. In turn, what happens is that I end up feeling very invalidated and very isolated at like family occasions and stuff, because there's this part of me that is kind of like ignored or just cannot be fathomed by my family members. The way that I have found the most validation is through non-binary femmes, most of which I have met online. I have, I would say, one non-binary femme person in my life in person, and that is actually not even true because of COVID. But for me, most of the validation that I've gotten about my gender has been through finding other non-binary people of color who also align with femininity. If you have a non-binary femme in your life, stop calling them she if they don't like those pronouns, please. Please. My gender presentation cannot represent all non-binary folks because non-binary is not a gender. So that's all I have to say on that. Because I live in so many in-betweens as like non-binary, queer, and Chicanx, I feel that art is one of the only ways in which I can express those feelings and thoughts and existence that is not easily articulated just through words. And so I think that's one of the main reasons that art is so important in my life, is because I do get to express those feelings of in-betweenness and those feelings of frustration and isolation, while also getting to celebrate it and all the ways in which my identity is contradicting or conflicting. I really love that and like to pinpoint it in my artwork. Similarly with academia, a lot of people won't take me seriously as an artist just based off my looks. So it definitely does affect the way in which I share my art, and sharing it online has been one of my favorite things to do, along with sharing it with other queer folks, because when I share my art with other queer folks, it's like when I finally feel seen. I forgot to film an outro, so don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed what I had to say, and please go check out Chelsea's video, which will be linked down below.